first time I remember getting into gaming was I used to go over to my friend's house all the time and hang out, and one day he said his parents bought him this new gaming system, and I remember seeing it on the floor, and it had an orange rifle attached to it, and I just remember thinking that that was a really cool concept, and I think from that point on I became hooked. When I really got into it was when the PlayStation 1 came out. I was a little younger. I was really into like Spyro and Crash Bandicoot, and then after that it kind of evolved more into first person and third person shooters with the occasional RPGs, and yeah, that's where it came from.
Well, actually, as a young man, my grandfather bought me it was actually a Nintendo Entertainment System, and my first game on there was Duck Hunt. And for that time, it was a really immersive type of gameplay. Allowed you to, be really personal with the game, and you had an extension of the console, and I thought that was really neat. And pretty much ever since then, I've been an avid gamer all the way through doing simple graphics and art to Java server development.
So my gaming career began, like growing up, I was a kid, and my parents, they would buy me consoles, like N64 and stuff like that. I'm sure we've all had an N64, That's what I got my first real console was N64. But before that, I played Sega with my cousin, right? But anyway, I believe my true love for gaming sparked when the original Xbox Live launched on the first Xbox console. And H2 was one of those games. Halo 2 was one of the first games that launched on Xbox Live. And I remember going over and playing old school System Link at my aunt's house, right? Playing old school System Link before Live was about to launch. And we had like 3 Xboxes all System Linked together. And back then you only could have 4 people on one Xbox. Freaking four screens split up. It was horrible, because we were playing on old school freaking almost like cathode or those old school TVs, the JVCs. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
It was like no HD back then, no flat screen, and so basically that's when my love for gaming sparked, because it was more of a competitive feel, that first person shooter. And as I grew up a little bit in my teens, I started getting a little more geekier. Lord of the Rings came out when I was a teen, so the movies actually started up, and that's when I first got introduced to RPGs. And then as RPGs came around, I got a computer, a desktop. I was still playing, on 360, playing Xbox Live. The RPGs came around, and my first RPG that I played, it was actually an MMORPG. It's called RuneScape. It was, pretty low grade game, but at the time it was fun, being in middle school and stuff. But yeah, I think that's what sparked it. Both aspects, both competitive and both RPG. I had my RPG, my geek side, and then my competitive where I played with all my buddies.
Yeah.
Well, initially, when we were talking about the name for game development studio, we went through all these names. They just seemed like they were kind of dull and everything else. We actually had one particular gentleman that was part of our class and wasn't always there, and kind of seemed kind of sketchy, right? So we all got together. We were developing our themes and everything for our final projects for school, and we came up with Sketchy Games just based off of the idea, of that person. I was like, this guy's kind of sketchy. And so long story short, when I initially said that, nobody really took heed to what I was talking about, and it just kind of stuck from there. It actually became a theme that we used for a logo, and not to say that we would be a sketchy game development company, but that is a name that people can remember. The thing about Sketchy Games that's going to set it apart from everybody else is going to be the individual creativity, and we're not going to be the kind of company that bases everything off mass production solely for the profit margin. It'll be based on the individual level. It'll allow the the employee that is actually doing the programming or the development of the game to use his personal ideas, and creativity, and not necessarily stick to one particular theme or a set of themes that's just aimed at the dollar factor. It'll be on a more personal level, and I think that smaller teams are able to harness creativity in the gaming world a little bit better than the mass-produced titles.
I think what's going to set us apart is just being indie. And by being indie, I mean not being hipster. By being indie, I mean we're going to have the ability to, we're going to have, creative freedom, first of all. Like Aaron was saying earlier, all these mass-produced games, they're all like cookie-cutter games. The story starts off the same and it ends the same. And it's only like, a couple hours of gameplay. Here, we're going to give the player the opportunity to fully play through a game and then play through it another time and then play through it another time. With those non-linear stories, that's what's really going to, that's really what's going to market our gamers right there. I believe that they're really we're going to have great stories, and they're going to be all independent, so they're going to be all unique. At the same time, they're going to be original, but there's going to be just a whole different aspect towards gaming, I feel. What made me interested in sketchy games would definitely be, starting here at ITT, I didn't really know a whole lot. I knew what I wanted to do, was, software, development. I've always been a gamer. But what really made me interested is the whole proposal that Aaron came to me about, just wanting to create something that we could kind of call our own. And it's just the whole way that it could be successful is just this vision he had. He had a vision from start to finish, and we barely knew each other for like a week, And so being in that, just like Forrest said, it's just like kind of like a little brotherhood, You kind of feel welcome, and you kind of feel like you're important to the whole project, really. As far as market goes, I hope we can target everyone, Just like me, I have my side right here where I could do a first-person shooter, competitive online playing, talk mess to a bunch of people, which I'm sure we've all did back in the day. But and also I want to just target like those MMORPG sides, RPG role-playing games, old school type of, written games, medieval, whatever it may be. We're gonna have all sorts of different directions we're gonna go with gaming, because there's gonna be so many great minds thinking of what topics to write about, or what kind of projects to create. As far as the future workplace goes, I hope it's something cool, something like Google. They have the slide. We need something like that. Maybe a pajama day, free Starbucks on Mondays. I don't know. We just want this, because I've had a lot of jobs, and the majority of jobs is just real dull when you go in. That Monday morning you're gonna go in, what's gonna be expected, and it's gonna be like, it's not gonna be a great day. Almost here, I want everybody to want to go to work, just because we're gonna be doing what we want to do. So I think that environment it's really going to shine. It's really going to show how everybody wants to work.
I'm interested in sketchy games for the simple fact that I'm interested in the people involved with it. I think in a short amount of time, we've already formed a bond that takes people sometimes years to grow. I'm invested in this company not only physically but emotionally as well. We are set apart from the competition because we don't like to think of a problem to have a single solution. We're more of an out-of-the-box type of company. We don't like to follow a traditional business model. We feel like a lot of those strategies and tactics are a little outdated, and we just want to be a breath of fresh air in the gaming industry. We plan on marketing ourselves to anyone who has a controller in their hands. I would like to think of our workspace as non-traditional. We want it to be relaxing. We're not going to make you conform and be something that we want you to be. We want to allow anyone affiliated with us to have freedom, artistic abilities, we have to let those come out. And the only way to let someone's artistic abilities come out is to let them be themselves.
As far as our market, it's not going to be individualized or anything like that. We're going to create multiple games in different genres, and we're going to focus on the mobile platform primarily at first, and as we graduate from that, we'll move on to more large-scale open-world 3D games, primarily on the PC platform. When I think about the workplace, I think about it being somewhere that is fun and exciting, to where you wake up in the morning and you think about going there, and how much fun you're going to have when you get there. Of course, it's a business and there's things that need to be done and everything else, but we want the employee to be able to go to work, want to go to work, and be able to harness their creativity, because we have a lesser stressful environment than some of the more corporate businesses would portray.